The rain drummed against the windowpane of my townhouse in Burlington, mirroring the storm raging inside me. My phone buzzed in my palm, my mother's voice piercing through the speaker with an anger so sharp, I had to pull it away from my ear. "Don't act clueless about what you did," she shouted. "We're your family. You can't just walk away because your feelings got hurt." I sat frozen in my home office, staring blankly at the raindrops streaking down the glass. Numb. Furious. Betrayed. Everything I had believed about family had shattered in an instant, all over one careless text message. My brother, Benjamin, had made a fatal mistake. He had sent a message meant for a secret group chat with our parents into our family chat, and with that one slip, the truth unraveled before my eyes. ATM dropped another $3K. My father had responded with cruel amusement. "LMO. Keep it coming. She's too dumb to see we're bleeding her dry." Then came another message. "Your mom grabbed those golf clubs your dad wanted. Doris would flip if she knew her money paid for them instead of prescriptions." One screenshot after another followed. Their private conversations revealed the depth of their deception, their carefully crafted lies. Fake emergencies. Pleas of poverty. Manipulative guilt trips. 3 years of schemes laid bare. Lavish vacations, upgraded cars, all funded by me. All while they cried to me about struggling to afford basic necessities. I had been nothing but an ATM to them. For hours, my phone vibrated relentlessly. Calls, messages, frantic attempts to undo what had already been exposed. My father claimed it was all just jokes. My mother insisted I had misread everything. Benjamin, caught in his own guilt, tried to justify it. "I went along just to stay on their good side," he texted weakly. But the truth was undeniable. Their words had spoken for them. A sharp knock at my door pulled me from my thoughts. I walked across the room, my phone still clutched in my hand, and peered through the peephole. Benjamin stood outside, soaked from the rain, regret etched into every feature of his face. I opened the door but didn't step aside. "What do you want?" "Doris, please, let me explain," he begged. "Explain what?" I snapped, holding up my phone, the screen still glowing with his betrayal. "That you've been mocking me this whole time." Benjamin's face paled as he read the text I had pulled up. "Told Doris Dad needs dental surgery." Urging. He exhaled sharply. "It's not what it looks like." I cut him off. "Oh, so you weren't lying about Dad's health to squeeze more money out of me?" My voice dripped with bitterness. "Mom and Dad started it," he stammered. "I just went along." I scoffed. "Of course. Just following orders." My grip on the phone tightened as I forced myself to say the numbers out loud. "I sent you $1,500 a month, Benjamin. That's $90,000 over 5 years. And that's not even counting the extras, the fake medical bills, the so-called broken furnace. Do you even understand what that means?" Benjamin dropped his gaze. "Yeah, it's a lot. A lot." A bitter laugh escaped me. $180,000, Benjamin. That's what I've given this family. While I skipped vacations, worked overtime, bought second-hand furniture, my voice cracked, but I forced myself to push through. "And all for what? So Dad could swing his brand new golf clubs while I worried whether you all had medicine to survive." Benjamin let out a long sigh, drenched and defeated. "They took it too far. I know. They're not helpless, Benjamin. They're 65. They chose that expensive lakeside condo while telling me they could barely afford their tiny apartment." My hands trembled with rage. "They're not struggling. They're lying." "Doris, please," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "They need you. They can't afford their home without your help." The final thread snapped. A strange, unexpected calm settled over me. They should have thought about that before they used me. I stepped back and shut the door. Benjamin's footsteps faded as he left, but I stayed there, gripping the doorknob, my body shaking from the weight of it all. I wasn't family to them. I was a money machine. I sank onto the couch and opened my banking app. 5 years of deposits, 5 years of blind generosity, all drained into their deceit. $50,000 in fake emergencies. Another $20,000 in exaggerated expenses. And in a separate savings account, a fund I had built for their retirement, $25,000 still sitting untouched. I hovered over the option to close the account. Not yet. Instead, I called the one person who would help me unravel this mess. Gloria answered on the first ring. "Hey, what's up?" They used me. My voice was hollow. For years. Lied to me. Guilt-tripped me. I was just, my throat tightened. I was a fool. No, she said firmly. You were kind. They took advantage of that. But you're not a fool, Doris. You're awake now. The question is, what do you want to do next? I hesitated, my mind torn between fury and finality. Part of me wants to cut them off completely. Part of me. I swallowed hard. Part of me wants to hear them out. Before you decide, let's make sure you're protected, Gloria said. We need to check everything, bank accounts, insurance, any financial ties you might still have with them. A shiver ran down my spine. I hadn't even considered that. They're still on my health insurance, I murmured. Dad's medicine, it's covered under my plan. Then we need to fix that. First, gather proof, bank records, messages, anything that shows what they did. Second, list out every financial connection you need to sever. Third. Gloria paused. Decide if you even want to explain why you're doing this. As we hung up, another text came through. Mom, your father is very upset. His blood pressure is high because of you. We need to talk. Even now, they were still trying to manipulate me. Not anymore. I opened my laptop and began compiling every screenshot, every transaction, every instance of deception. I named the document 5 years of family support. By the time I finished, it was 12 pages long. I wasn't just hurt. I was done. My phone rang, the sharp sound cutting through the quiet of my home office. I took a deep breath before answering. Doris Perez speaking. Miss Perez, this is Aaron from Vermont Community Bank. I'm calling you back about closing an investment account. Yes, thanks for responding so quickly, I said, exhaling slowly. I need to close the retirement account I set up for Ryan and Francis Perez. There was a brief pause. I understand. Is there a problem with the account? The account is fine, I replied. The issue is with the people it was meant for. After verifying my identity, Aaron explained the process. Since I was the sole owner and had created the account as a gift, I could shut it down without my parents even knowing. Within minutes, the money was transferred, and just like that, the first tie was cut. One down. Next, I called my health insurance provider. This was going to be trickier. The company only allowed dependent changes mid-year for major life events, and discovering your parents are con artists wasn't exactly on the list. Still, the representative, Harold, listened patiently as I explained. Since they have their own home and you're no longer financially supporting them, we can update their status, he said. They'll receive a notice stating that they'll be removed from your plan at the end of the month. That gives them 30 days to find their own coverage. That's exactly what I need, I said, relieved. Family problems can be messy, Harold added, his voice sympathetic. I've dealt with something similar myself. Another tie severed. Updating my life insurance was the simplest step. A few clicks on an online form, and my parents were no longer my beneficiaries. Instead, I designated a local children's charity. If something ever happened to me, at least my money would go somewhere it was truly needed. By noon, I had erased almost every financial connection to them, except for one. Benjamin's student loan. For the past 3 years, I had been covering his payments, $300 a month. He still had 2 years left. My fingers hovered over the online payment portal. Benjamin had been part of the lies, but had he been pressured into it? Or was he only remorseful because he got caught? Before I could decide, my phone buzzed with a text from Benjamin. Mom and Dad are panicking. Dad says the pharmacy refused his prescription refill. What did you do? That told me everything I needed to know. No apology. No acknowledgement of their betrayal. Just another demand. I typed a response. Their problems are not mine anymore. My phone rang immediately after. Benjamin. I ignored it. Instead, I opened my email and began typing the final message I would ever send to my parents. I attached the 12-page document I had prepared the night before. Subject: Financial Support Record 2020 to 2025. Ryan and Francis. I have attached a full record of the money I have given over the past 5 years, totaling $112,000. This includes monthly payments, emergency funds, medical costs, and the retirement account I set up for you. As of today, all payments have stopped. You will no longer be on my health insurance after May 31st. The retirement account has been closed. I have proof of your lies, your own messages, where you bragged about deceiving me and called me a fool. Do not contact me unless you plan to return the money you took through dishonesty. Doris Perez. I read the email over once more, then hit send. The final step. Then, without hesitation, I blocked their numbers, deleted them from my social media, and leaned back in my chair. For the first time in years, my money, and my life, were mine again. The peace lasted for 3 days. Then, at exactly 8:30 p.m., as I was reviewing client reports, the doorbell rang. Looking through the peephole, I saw them. My parents. Benjamin. Their faces were a mix of anger and fear. I didn't answer. Instead, I grabbed my phone and dialed Gloria. "They're here," I whispered. "Do not open the door," she said firmly. "I don't know, that seems like too much." "Trust me, Doris. If they step inside, it'll be way harder to get them out. Physically and emotionally." The doorbell rang again, this time followed by loud, urgent banging. "Doris," my father's voice boomed through the door. "We know you're in there. You can't just cut us off without talking to us." I pulled up my messages and texted Benjamin. "I have nothing to say. Leave now, or I will call the police." Through the peephole, I watched as he read my message and showed it to our parents. They immediately started arguing. My mother looked like she was crying, while my father's face turned red with rage. Eventually, they walked away, but just before they left, my father turned back and shouted, "You'll regret this, Doris. We're family. You can't just walk away from us." The irony wasn't lost on me. They had walked away from being my family years ago. The next morning, the emails started. My mother sent a long-winded message, thick with guilt-tripping. She talked about my father's health, how he needed his medication. My father sent a shorter, angrier email. "Stop this immature nonsense immediately," Benjamin begged. "They can't make their mortgage payments without your help." I forwarded everything to Gloria and ignored them all. 3 days later, a certified letter arrived. Inside was a handwritten note from my mother. "Doris, we don't understand why you're treating us this way. Yes, we made some jokes that may have gone too far, but families joke around. Your father's heart medicine costs $100 a month without insurance. Our mortgage is due, and we don't have the money. If we lose our home, where will we go? Do you really want your aging parents to be homeless? Please talk to us." "Mom." I almost laughed. Aging parents. They were 65 and in perfect health. My father's golf skills had even improved, something I knew from the country club photos Benjamin had accidentally included in one of the infamous screenshots. Curious, I called the pharmacy where my father got his prescriptions, pretending to be my mother. "I'm calling about my husband Ryan Perez's heart medication," I said. "How much does it cost without insurance?" The pharmacist checked. "A 30-day supply. That's $42, Mrs. Perez. Not $100. Another lie. That evening, as I was leaving work, I spotted Benjamin waiting outside my office. He looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, clothes rumpled. "Doris, please," he said, stepping into my path. "They're falling apart. Dad is talking about bankruptcy." "That's not my issue," I said, trying to walk past him. "How can you be this heartless?" His voice cracked. "They're our parents." "Are they?" I asked. "Because real parents don't manipulate their children for money. Real parents don't mock their child behind their back, calling them stupid and easy to fool. They made mistakes." "No," I cut him off sharply. "Forgetting a birthday is a mistake. What they did was calculated. And they did it for years." Benjamin swallowed hard. "The condo is being foreclosed on," he admitted. "They can't afford it without your help." For a moment, I almost felt guilty. Then I remembered a certain message from their group chat. "Just convinced Doris we're struggling with rent. Meanwhile, we're signing papers for the new lakeside condo next week. Cheers." I stared at Benjamin. They shouldn't have bought a home they couldn't afford. And I walked away. I met Benjamin's desperate gaze with an unwavering stare. "What about Dad's medication?" he pleaded. I kept my voice even, devoid of emotion. "You mean the one that costs $42, not $100? His eyes widened in shock. "How did you?" "I looked it up," I interrupted. "No more lies, Benjamin." I stepped around him, walking toward my car. Just as I reached the door, I turned back. They should apply for government assistance, I said. That's what those programs are for. Doris, he called after me, his voice thick with frustration. They're saying they'll move in with me. I can't handle that. I paused just long enough to meet his gaze. Sounds like a you problem, Benjamin. Welcome to consequences. 2 weeks after severing ties with my family, I finally made it to my first therapy session. Dr. Judy, a woman in her 50s with warm eyes and a straightforward approach, listened as I poured everything out, every betrayal, every manipulation, every time I had chosen them over myself. Some days I feel strong, I admitted. Other days, I feel guilty. A friend told me my parents had to cancel their country club membership, and I felt bad about it, for hours. Dr. Judy nodded, her expression calm. That's completely normal, she assured me. You're mourning. I frowned. Mourning. The family you believed you had, she explained. And your role as their provider. But they didn't deserve my help. They were just using me. She gave a small smile. Both things can be true. They didn't deserve your support, and you can still feel a loss. I hadn't thought about it that way before. But she was right. For 5 years, I had built my identity around being the successful daughter who took care of her parents. Without that, who was I? As I left the session, my phone rang. The caller ID surprised me, Uncle Austin. My father's brother. We weren't close, but I answered anyway. Doris, it's Uncle Austin, he said. Your dad called me. He said you cut them off, and now they're losing their home. Is that true? I sighed. It's more complicated than that. I figured. His voice held no surprise. Your dad has a habit of twisting the truth. Want to tell me what really happened? So I did. I told him about the lies. The fake medical costs. The screenshots that proved everything. When I finished, there was silence on the line. I'm not surprised, he finally said. Your dad pulled something similar with me years ago. That's why we're not close. I refused to fund his lifestyle. I swallowed hard. You knew. Another betrayal, years in the making. Why didn't you warn me? Would you have believed me? He asked gently. They had you convinced they were struggling. Some things, people have to learn on their own. He was right. I wouldn't have listened. For what it's worth, he added, I told your father they couldn't stay with me. I suggested they downsize, live within their means. He hung up on me after that. For the first time since this all began, I felt something unexpected. Relief. I wasn't the villain. I wasn't cruel. I was just another person they had tried to use, and I had finally seen the truth. That night, a text from Benjamin appeared on my phone, this time from a different number. Mom and Dad are moving into my spare room. They're selling the condo. Dad is furious. I didn't reply. 3 days later, another message. The condo is listed for sale. Dad's car got repossessed. This is bad. For a fleeting moment, I considered answering. Then I remembered the screenshot. Doris just asked if Dad is okay after his doctor's appointment for the heart issue that doesn't exist. They had made their choices. Now, they had to live with them. By the 3rd week, an email arrived from an unfamiliar address. Message from your parents. Since I had blocked them, they had enlisted a friend to contact me. They had to sell their furniture. Your father's health is getting worse from stress. They've applied for food stamps, and he finds it humiliating. They just want to talk. To explain. To apologize. I thought about it for exactly 5 seconds. Then I deleted it. Their apology would be nothing more than another ploy to get money. I had seen this game play out before, and I was done. For the first time in years, my money was mine. The guilt was fading. And something new had taken its place. Freedom. 6 months later, I returned from a business trip to find them waiting on my porch. My parents. I pulled into the driveway, my chest tightening as I stepped out of the car. They looked different. Thinner. My mother's grey roots had grown out, and their clothes were cheaper than I had ever seen them wear. For a split second, instinct told me to turn the car around. To leave. But Dr. Judy and I had prepared for this. I was ready. I could face them. Doris, my mother's voice wobbled as I approached. Please, we just want to talk. These months have been unbearable, my father added. We understand now. I unlocked the door. 5 minutes. Inside, they sat stiffly on the couch while I remained standing, arms folded. "We're sorry," my mother began. "We should never have taken advantage of you." My father nodded. "We lost everything. The condo, the car, our savings. We had no choice but to move in with Benjamin. His place is tiny. Your mother sleeps on a pull-out couch. The country club revoked our membership," my mother added. "None of our friends call anymore. My medication is expensive without your insurance," my father said. "Medicare doesn't cover it all." They listed every hardship they had endured. Not once did they say, "We're sorry for hurting you." Only complaint after complaint, as if I had been the one who ruined their lives. When they finally stopped talking, I tilted my head. "That's it. We want to make things right," my mother insisted. "We've been through so much, Doris. We've learned." "And what exactly did you learn?" They exchanged nervous glances. "That we shouldn't have taken you for granted," my father finally said. Translation: "We should have been more careful not to get caught." "No," I said quietly. "You still don't understand." My mother's voice sharpened. "What do you mean? We came all this way to apologize." "No," I corrected. "You came here to tell me how much you have suffered. Not once have you admitted what you did to me." "We said we're sorry," my father insisted. "For getting caught," I replied. "Not for betraying me." I took a deep breath. For months, I've thought about what real family looks like. And it's not this. It's not treating your child like a bank while laughing behind her back. My mother's expression hardened. "So you're cutting us off over a few jokes?" "This isn't revenge," I said calmly. "It's protecting myself from people who don't truly care about me." "We're your parents," my father said, as if that should fix everything. "And I was your daughter," I said. "Not your paycheck." I stepped to the door and pulled it open. "I hope things work out for you. I really do. But I can't be part of this anymore." "You don't mean that," my mother whispered, eyes filling with tears. "We need you." "That's the issue," I said. "You don't need me. You need what I gave you. That's not the same." My father stood, his regret shifting to anger. "So that's it? After everything we've done for you?" I met his gaze. "And what exactly have you done for me, other than take?" Silence. They had no answer. As they stepped outside, my mother turned back. "You'll regret this, Doris." I shut the door.